Hi guys, this is just going to be a quick video today with an introduction to how to write an essay. So I'm going to go through the kind of template of how to structure your essay and what to look out for in the question. And then in the next training, I'll be actually taking you through me writing an essay, which is going to kind of put this into a bit of context for you. So let's just get started straight away. First, we want to look at an example task and what we actually have to do. So this is an essay task here that you can see in front of you, and I've highlighted some of the kind of key information here. Okay, so here's our task. So you have recently been to a lecture on what methods governments should use to encourage teenagers to continue their education. And you have made the following notes. So notice this is the question. This is the topic of our essay. And this I have highlighted because this is something that people make mistakes with. They don't answer the exact question that's asked. They answer something similar. They might say why it's important for teenagers to go to university. Or they might talk about why governments should make young people go to university, or make people in general go to university. But they don't answer this exact question, which is what methods governments should use to encourage teenagers to continue their education. So, very important that we answer the exact question. So, here are the ways governments should encourage young people to continue their education. We've got cheaper course fees, e-learning, bursaries and grants. If you don't know what any of this vocabulary means, or you're not sure about how this is connected to the question, if you go across to the right-hand side of the page, and it says some opinions expressed in the lecture. So in the exam, they always give you some ideas, basically, to help you understand the vocabulary, and also if your mind's gone blank and you can't think of any points, any ideas to write, then you can turn here to get some ideas. Okay. Bear in mind that if you use these ideas, you need to put them in your own words. You can't just kind of copy and paste the exact same points as the question gives you. Okay. Why have I highlighted 2? Why have I highlighted 2? Because we have to write an essay for our teacher discussing 2 of the ideas in our notes. Okay. So we never want to discuss 3 of them. We never want to just discuss 1. We have to discuss 2. This is another common mistake that people make. Or they discuss something similar. So instead of talking about e-learning, they talk about part-time learning. Instead of talking about bursaries and grants, they talk about bank loans. So they don't answer the exact question that's been asked again. Okay. Next point here, you should explain which you think is more important. So which of the 2 that you've decided to talk about are the most important for governments to consider, and give reasons to support your answer. So again, I've highlighted this because this is things that people make mistakes with. So we always have to say at the end of our essay, which of these 2 things that we're talking about we think are the most important. Okay? And not just the most important in general, it's the most important for the governments to consider when they're encouraging teens to continue their education. Okay? Next one that people make mistakes with is not giving reasons to support their answer. So people give lots of points lots of ideas, but they don't support it with evidence or examples or reasons. And people lose points in content for this. Okay. So I would always recommend when you get your task in the exam that you highlight or underline the important information and keep on referring back to that while you're writing. Keep on looking at the question to make sure that you're not going off topic, that you're answering the exact thing that they're asking you. Okay? May sound simple, but this is the most common mistake that people make. Another thing to point out with the question is it always kind of starts the same. You've recently been to a lecture, you've watched a TV program, you've listened to a radio show, you've been to a chat show. It's always something like this that you've made notes on, and you're always writing an essay for like an academic essay for your teacher, for your tutor, for your professor. So it's always going to be quite formal, your essay, which means we're not going to be using contractions. We're not going to be using lots of idiomatic slang phrases and things like that. Okay, so that's the question. Next, what's the layout? How do we structure an essay? So we start with our introduction. And then we've got our 2 points that we need to talk about. So we've got introduction. Point 1 is our second paragraph. Point 2 is our third paragraph. And our conclusion is paragraph 4. Okay, so we're always going to have 4 paragraphs. In our introduction, first, we're going to have a general opening statement, kind of introducing the topic. So it's common knowledge nowadays that students' attendance at universities is declining. Some sort of general opening statement connected to the topic. Then we want to say what the exact thing we're going to be discussing, which is our what the government should do to encourage people to go to university. Okay. Then we want to say the 2 things that we're going to talk about. Okay. And that's going to be our introduction. So it's quite simple, and I'm going to give you some nice expressions to make that general opening statement and to say what 2 points you're going to talk about. Next, our main body paragraphs. So that's paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. So basically point 1 and point 2. I think in the last question it was e-learning and reducing student fees, something like that. So 1 paragraph would be about e-learning and 1 paragraph would be about student fees. How do we structure the paragraph? Well, we want to start with a topic sentence, which is basically introducing what the topic of the paragraph is going to be about. So saying what point we're going to talk about. Again, I'll show you some different ways you can do this later on. So introduce what point we're going to talk about. Then say what our point is, what our argument is. Then we're going to give reasons to support that point. So reasons or examples. Then if we have another point to make, we do the same thing again. For reasons. And then depending on how much we've written, we might want to put a summarizing sentence, kind of linking it back to the question that we had in the introduction. So if you've got the kind of lots of information there, we might want to have just a kind of general sentence again, kind of linking our ideas to the question, just to make it nice and clear, nice and easy to read. Remember, we want to get points for our communicative achievement. Can the reader understand easily our essay? Does it flow? Okay. So we're going to repeat that with paragraph 3. And then finally, we're going to write our conclusion, which we're going to use a fixed conclusion expression. So you could say, in conclusion, a little basic. I'll give you some more kind of fancy ones to say than in conclusion. Then we're going to give our opinion on which point is the most important. So we're going to choose either e-learning or fees as to which one the government should use to encourage students to go on to further education. And then if we want, we can summarize our main argument for that again. Okay? Important, if a lot of people, instead of summarizing their main arguments, they add a new argument that they've never mentioned before. We don't want to do that, okay? We don't want to give any new ideas or information in the conclusion. Conclusion is concluding, is the end, the summary. So we don't want to add extra information there. We want to give our opinion in the conclusion. That's the main point of the conclusion. What I think, what my opinion is. Main body paragraphs is giving the argument. Main body paragraphs are more objective. Okay, so we don't want to be using I think in the main body paragraph. We want to be more neutral. We're just giving the facts, the information. And then in the conclusion, we're giving our final opinion on which point we think is the most important. Okay, so that's the basics on how to structure an essay. We're going to go over now and take a look at me writing the essay. And then later on, you will have a worksheet with some really nice expressions that you can use to write your own essays. And also, importantly, some grammar expressions that, some grammar that I want you to be using in your essays so that we can get a higher mark for your vocabulary and grammar. Okay. So that's the end of this training. Just head on to the next video and you will see me writing the essay. Okay. Bye-bye.